Hello, my name's Philippa Waller.
My name is Penelope Waller, and we are two of the directors at 4D Human Being.
And welcome to the 4D Human Being podcast. What's it all about, Pen?
It's all about your personal and professional relationships. It's about your communication skills, how you lead, how you work and build teams, how you are looking after yourself and your well-being, and how you are much more at choice. What do we mean by that?
Well, sometimes we can get a little caught in patterns in life, and we can all be a little bit on our automatic pilot. So 4D Human Being is all about helping us get back to choice and being a four-dimensional human being. And your fourth dimension, of course,
is intention. So whether it's about your impact, your leadership style, your team dynamics, whether it's about your well-being, whether it's about your communication or your presentation skills, anything that involves human beings interacting with other human beings, 4D Human Being are here to help.
We're going to take a deep dive and look at some tools, insights, theories that are going to help you go from a 3D human doing to a 4D human being, so that you can happen to the world rather than the world simply happening to you. Well, welcome to 2026 proper, January 2026. I mean, it's the same old trope, isn't it, of still waiting for 2025 to get going.
To start. I know, what happened to 2025?
And
I remember at the end of October in 2025, I said, like, what's happened to October? And now the whole year's gone. What a year though, Phil.
What a year on so many levels. Where do we start? Anyway, this isn't actually this.
No, we're not looking back.
No,
we're
exactly, Faye. We're not looking back. We're looking forward. We're not just looking forward with our fingers crossed. And I think that's what we want to talk about. That this is not, brace yourself and hope.
See what happens.
Yeah, and hope
for the best.
Hope for the best. Actually, I have a really interesting relationship with hope, and this is, I think, partly through therapy work. Is that on one level I really like it, that as a therapist you hold the hope for a client when they can't yet hold it. So there is a place for it, definitely.
Yes, and as they say, last thing to die.
Last thing to die, Pandora's box and all that. On the other side of it, we don't want to get stuck in hope.
No. Well, you and I were talking about this, weren't we? That on the surface, it's a nice word. When you hear that word, it sounds very sort of virtuous and
optimistic,
nice, and all those things.
Yeah.
But it also feels very, very passive.
Yeah. I think that's the thing.
If I just curl up in a ball and cross my fingers.
I hope so. What was it that phrase? I'm hopeful but not optimistic. I'm not sure how helpful that is.
No, I know, Phil. Do you know what it makes me feel? Hope. It does make me feel exactly like I just described. It makes me feel like clearly there's something that maybe I'm worried about or not happy about. That's often when hope comes, when hope springs to us. And so hope always makes me feel like that I should be literally hunkering down in some sort of like close all my curtains, hunker down and sort of just kind of sit there in a tight ball and go, cross my fingers, I'm just going to wait this one out.
I'm going to wait this. Do you know that came up? I was listening to a political podcast and they were talking about that. You just wait it out, and you're like, I have mixed feelings about. I mean, some things you have to wait out, but other things you think, actually, this is what we want to talk about. There's a time to act. And if I think about hope, pure, like you say, curled up in a ball, fingers crossed. Hope. My question is, and this will go back to the original, what we talked about, hope is the last thing to die, the Roman or Greek gods. Where are we putting the power?
Yes.
If we're hoping that it happens,
who's doing that?
Who or what is doing
that
is going to make that happen. And
presumably, Phil, I'm going to double down on that, because presumably I go back to what I said earlier. If we're in our hopeful state, that's going to suggest that something is uncertain, or we're nervous that something's going to happen. So if we're not active in it, that suggests that the person who wants the opposite to what we want is active.
And exactly.
And we're like, oh, I hope they sort of trip over and it doesn't work. What?
Yeah. And also with that, like you say, if I'm not convinced, I'm hopeful but not convinced. So if I'm not convinced, I'm wondering what signals and messages I'm sending out already. So like you say, it's sort of doubling down. I'm disempowering myself from having intention and action, and I'm also sending out, it doesn't look good. Well, I can't make it happen.
Yeah.
So I'm already not very sure about it.
Yeah. The only thing I would say, Phil, is that, I mean, going back to what we said right at the beginning, it does feel like it feels like a nice thing. Like, I mean, it's better, isn't it better to be hopeful than hopeless?
Well, I think, here's how I'm going to frame it. Overall, I would say my initial position was switch hope for intention and action. Actually, I don't think it's a switch. I think it's a doorway. And I think if you've got two doors, one says hopeful and one says hopeless, you definitely want to walk through the hopeful door. But it's only a door to a pathway that you've now got.
Who's choosing the hopeless door?
Well, let's discuss. Let's discuss the benefits. Come on, because there are benefits, aren't there?
Hopeful.
Pen. What are the benefits of going through the hopeless door? Because there are many. What are they? What do you have to do or not do when you walk through the hopeless door?
Pretty much nothing.
Nothing. Exactly. Nothing. You walk through the hopeless door. I've already decided there's no point, so I'm not taking one step further. So there's lots of benefits to hopelessness.
Well, also you can blame other people because you've already decided it's hopeless.
So over to you. I've shed all responsibility. I've made a very clear choice. I've walked through the hopeless door. I'm really
Phil,
my colours to the mast.
I am going to say after the hurtling down the Christmas mountain, there might be a day over the Christmas holidays where I feel like I'll just spend an hour in the hopeless room.
Pen. I think that's okay. I mean, I might put a temporary label. I might put a label on the door saying,
or a timer.
Yeah, exactly, a timer. Exactly. Just a break from hope. It's like a little
Time's up.
Time out. Exactly. But then your Pomodoro goes off after 25 minutes and you're back out. But you can definitely have a little indulgent. You know what? I'm going to release myself from hope.
Can you imagine if I said to my kids? So they come down for breakfast and I say, kids, I'm just having an hour in the hopeless
room. Yeah.
They'd be like, Mother,
there's no time for that. You're holding all the hope here, quite frankly. Exactly. But it's a doorway.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think let's reframe hopeless as just a little mini break where you just get to indulge in I'm not doing anything here. But it's a temporary. But the doorway to hope, it's just a doorway.
Once you can't then stop.
Well, also you can't then just go, you can't walk forward just holding hope. Actually, it's just the doorway. That's the decision. I'm hopeful. I believe something can change here. Walk through the door. I'm afraid from that moment, hope stands at the doorway and that's it. They don't get through. Yeah. From the moment you said, I hold hope, you walk through the door and then you have intention and action. Yeah. Because if you just step over the hopeful door and stand there, it's pretty similar to the hopeless door, isn't it?
Well,
with less furnishing.
Exactly. Well, it's no different to being on the other side of the hopeful door. Yeah,
well, exactly.
Right.
In fact, it's worse because there's a path. You can see a path ahead of you that you're refusing to walk on. It's worse. Now you just feel terrible and guilty.
Well, it's the active versus passive, isn't it? Which is why I love the word, but I also really visualise the word as passive. And as you say, while sometimes it's good to have a break, passive is really the definition of letting the world happen to you, isn't it?
And also, we've all watched enough movies to know that we are absolutely drawn to stories where when hope is dying on the floor, it's the third act in a movie where it's the darkest before the light. And it's when hope has gone that we love that the hero tries further.
Still going.
And it's like Paul Coelho's The Alchemist. I think it's in The Alchemist where he talks about, he's looking for the jewel. I can't remember the exact metaphor, and has to turn over stone after stone. And he just wants to give up because he's turned over so many stones in so many caves. And the parable is just one more.
Yeah.
When everyone else has given up hope, you just turn over one more. So, the idea that you have to have hope, actually, it's almost stories that we really love is when hope is gone.
Yes, I think you're right.
The courage to keep going.
Yes, well, it's, and it's exactly as you said. It's have hope, but almost as a catalyst to then doing something. So, like, if I think about my dog, for example, he's a brilliant example. I think dogs are very hopeful creatures.
Eternally optimistic.
So I think Bear spends most of his day hopeful that he'll get more food, even if he's just been fed. He's hoping he's good. But he doesn't just sit on the sofa and hold hope. He comes into the kitchen and he taps and pushes his bowl relentlessly. And he's right, because he's more likely.
And he looks at you with those eyes.
Yeah, and he's more likely to get fed. And what he's doing is, A, he's setting an intention, but B, he's giving a signal to the universe and he's trying to manifest something, like he's actively in it. He's not just thinking, she'll read my mind, I'm sitting on the sofa hopeful, I'm going to...
And let's be clear about how actually successful that is, because you have to put him on diets, don't you? Because it works, doesn't it, Ben?
So he has every reason to be hopeful.
Exactly. So let's apply this, because why are we talking about hope? Well, as we look forward to 2026, we can stand here on the threshold of 2026, fingers crossed, hopeful for all the things that we would love it to be, or not to be, perhaps based on last year or whatever. But, all the things that we'd really love. And what we would say is, actually, let's really get practical and pragmatic about this. If there are 10 things that you hope happen this year, write them down. Now circle your top 3. The top 3 things, So all the things that you'd really hope would happen. So I'd like to build more community, or I'd like to write a journal, or I'd like to get fit, or whatever it might be. All the 10 things that you really hope will happen. Now pick your top 3. And for us at 4D, that is where you put your intention and you energize your actions. And that is how you make things happen. But when that's too diverse, when it's too broad, and when it's just sitting in hope, it's like a sort of blancmange of... It's a smorgasbord, isn't it? It's like a restaurant that serves every kind of food and you don't really know what it is. Actually, get focused. Pick your 3 things and put your energy there, and don't get distracted. So that's your first exercise. We're going to move. It's
quite hard to narrow it down to 3, Phil.
Well, it's your start, isn't it? I mean, look, Pen, by June you might have accomplished them all, but it's getting focused. So let's say you hope 2026 is going to be the year that you want it to be. You've stepped through that door. Now, what does that actually mean? Write down those 10 things.
Yeah.
Now pick your top 3. Okay, great. Now, what do you need? So there's 2 things here. One is you need to actually set intentions around those 3 things. And the second one is you need the energy to do it. So you want to think about clear intentions. So those are the things I'm going to do. So we can talk to this, Pen, 2 PT sessions a week. The goal is not to become ultra marathon runners. The goal is to be 10-20% fitter by the end of the year.
Well,
that's achievable.
And I was even going to slightly question the word goal. I mean, sometimes goals are useful.
Good.
But do you know what's better for me than, like, if I set a goal of, I don't know, I want to have more toned arms, or I want to lose a couple of kilos, or something really quite tangible. My intention is to do 2 fitness sessions a week.
That's right.
That feels more useful to me.
I agree.
It may not be the same for everybody.
I agree. And this speaks to the James Clear, doesn't it? That's the process. And also, I would say on that we can add in, okay, so that's the intention, if you like, to do 2 PT sessions a week, which is manageable. This is obviously amongst all the other things that we do. But the thing that for me energizes that is doing it together. So if you think about energy sources, and part of that is sleep and food and all those things that are very obvious, of course, enough rest. And what are the pieces that really give you energy?
Well, I was going to say, because what's really interesting about that, Phil, is I go back to the passive versus active, because, of course, I could hope that I do 2 PT sessions a week. But to move from that passive hope into sort of active intention and manifestation, I need some energy. I need some motivation. I need to put, energy in motion to start acting. And you're so right. I think very often we sort of will it. We sort of think, well, I've just got to be disciplined and will it. Yeah. And actually, I think that's one of the hardest ways to move from hope to intention. We've got to find different routes in, and that's a really good one.
Well, actually, if we go back to the metaphor of stepping through the hope door, that idea of willpower, we've immediately set an obstacle course against which we've got to battle.
Yes.
Whereas the idea of you and I standing at that threshold together going, oh, should we take 2 steps? Yeah, come on. And we haven't set up the grind of the willpower that's needed to push against some sort of resistance, as if when you step through the hope door, the universe is pushing back on you saying, no, you're never going to do it. And I think that that's part of the mindset that hope almost sets up. If we only stay in hope, we're almost setting up the idea that we're hoping, but it's almost got a but built into it. Whereas the idea that, right, we've decided that this is possible, we've decided that we hope this will happen. That's good. That's done now. Now we're standing here, and all we're asking ourselves is, what's our next step? What's our one intention? And how are we going to energize that? And that energy piece feels so vital. And there's a couple of things on that. One is being really clear with yourself, like really. And I really enjoy exercising, and I absolutely know.
Well, not so much.
For you, yeah. But what I really realised with doing the gym session, because I don't love strength work as much, but doing it with you is absolutely changes it, because it's playful, it's fun, it's something we can do together. It totally removes the obstacles for me. So it's really knowing that about yourself and what energises you, and we can come to sort of how you might brainstorm some of those using the 4D model, in fact. But the other thing that comes up for me, which I've been talking about this morning with a client, is the idea that we can move into a new year with new intentions that we want to put energy towards, without releasing any space from all the other things that we're already doing that aren't bringing us what we want. And we have to go back to that idea of stop what we're going to stop doing or do less of, to allow some energy to go where we actually need to go. And that goes back to the point of writing that list and only choosing your top 3. To be realistic, we cannot fire up 10, 20 things on a list and cross our fingers that that's going to be enough energy for those things. It won't be.
Yeah.
But exactly as you say, what are the day-to-day behaviours and actions that are really bringing this to life? And I think what we've just talked about in quite a sort of, Greek myth, way about stepping through a door, that sort of metaphor of stepping through the hope door but then acting, really speaks to 4D human being and the leadership development and the training that we do. Is we love the concept, and we love the theory of development and change. And what you and I and Matt and everyone who works with us absolutely share is that's great to sit there and talk about it. And this podcast is a place that we can do that, and we do it with Matt. And in the room, what we want more than anything is for leaders and teams to walk out with tangible actions that they could literally walk into another room in the next 5 minutes and do something or say something that actually moves towards that change. Because talking and intellectualizing, whether it's in therapy or in change, is a very sneaky part. Well, also it's a sneaky defense against doing it, because we could sit and talk about going to the gym and planning it and what it will give us, and the theory of V2O max and hitting your 80%, and we could talk about that to a blue in the face. But actually, you've got to get your trainers on.
Yeah. Well, the other thing as well, the big watch out. If I think about the end of a day in a training room, And sometimes you hear from the delegates about what's really landed, what they're going to do. If you hear words like, I'm going to try, or I hope that I'll...
That's it.
You go, woohoo, whoa, stop, reverse, wrong door.
So I really want to use that as a call out for teams and leaders. If at the end of a meeting or an offsite, similarly to us in a training room, if you hear the language when you're going into action, when you hear the language of, well, I hope what's going to happen next, or I hope what I'll do next, you've absolutely right. You've press pause, break, and remove that word. So let's say you've already stepped through the hope door. What I'm going to do is, what's going to happen next is, my energy is going to go towards,
or even my intention, which is slightly softer.
Yeah,
but I'm
in control of it.
Personal,
It's in control. I'm driving.
That's exactly right, Phil.
Yeah.
It's not the finger crossing.
Yeah, so exactly. And as a leader, if you find yourself at the end of an offsite or a meeting saying to your team, I hope that you enjoyed it, and I really hope that you take some of these things away, which is such normal language. Stop. Pause. See what happens if you remove the word hope. Assume hope is here. Assume that you wouldn't have booked the offsite if you didn't hope that something would change.
Yeah.
And now ask the question, what are you taking away? Tell me.
Do you know, sometimes, Phil, it's really interesting because I've noticed my relationship with this word. And sometimes when I send maybe for example, follow-up emails to clients after a session, of course, a really standard thing to say is, I hope the session was useful. And I look at it and something about that language, I don't. So sometimes I change it to, I trust the session was useful, which is slightly, or I imagine the session was useful. That feels a little bit more like, I mean, we're sort of together. We're in control of this and what you're going to do with it, rather than, well, let's just both.
Yeah. I hope it was, which always leaves that space for, but maybe not.
Maybe it wasn't.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't. And there's something about signalling to yourself and to the universe and to other people that this is happening. It's so powerful. I was reading something last night about how we are signalling to our own internal systems all the time. And we don't think about that. We think about communication as going outwards.
Outwards, yeah.
But you are signalling to your own internal system all the time what is possible and what's going to happen next. So when you're saying to your own body, well, I hope we get fit, your body doesn't know what to do with that. It's
well, it does.
It does. Go and sit on the sofa and open the biscuits. That's the problem. Okay, so let's go to.
I've got too many chocolates in my house, Phil.
I've given you mine.
You've given them to me.
Yeah, I can't have chocolates in the house.
If I opened that hopeless door and sat on that sofa,
there's enough chocolates to take you through to Christmas 2026.
There really is. I've got to go through the hopeful door.
Yeah, you've got to go through the hopeful door, exactly. So let's talk about how you can. So we've talked about how you can set an intention. You can write down your top 10. Circle your top 3 and prioritise them. It's not fixed. It's a bit like a website. It's a movable feast. It's organic. It's going to change. Come March, that might shift. Things change. We don't have to think about lists as fixed. So then once you've got those, let's use the 4D2C model to think about what really, really energises you. A quick word from us at 4D Human Being. If you're enjoying the show, please do click follow so that you can have the 4D Human Being podcast instantly in your feed. And we'd love it if you liked and reviewed us. Let us know what you think.
Please do think of 1 or 2 people that you could share the 4D Human Being podcast with. Somebody who would really benefit from the content you're listening to right now.
Back to the show. So I'm going to start from the outside. So because we've got the intention in
Let's
the
start
middle.
start with environment.
Start with environment and relationship. So if we think about the 4D2C model, I'm sure everyone who's listening knows it. You've got intention in the middle, and then around that you've got the donut of physical, emotional and intellectual, our 3 dimensions in the middle. 4th dimension, intention, which is what we're really talking to. It's going to fire up the whole model. And then on the outside, you've got the 2 contexts, which is relationships and environment. So let's start with environment.
Well, the environment is a much bigger influence in terms of our intentionality and our action than we perhaps think it is. So if you think about this model, we're pushing as hard as we can to be operating from that central intentional dimension. So we're pushing out and we're making choice.
Rather than the world pushing in on us,
Rather than the world pushing in. And, of course, you can set things up in your context that even if they're pushing in on you and sort of slightly determining your actions, that's going to be helpful. So, an example that you have said before is, put your running shoes by the front door, and then it's more likely that you're going to step into them.
Actually, to add to that, Pen, so that's a really good point, which I don't know if we've always done that exact comparison, that you're exactly right. The environment is influencing you as much as you're influencing your environment. Yeah. It's all of this symbiotic relationship. Exactly. So a packet of open biscuits on your kitchen counter or a pair of trainers by the door are both in the environment.
Impacting you.
But both doing very different things. And like you say, all of the gift chocolate that you're going to give to other people sitting in your house is in the environment impacting you. The cozy blanket on the sofa. None of it's good or bad. It's just knowing that this is all influencing you. And if your running gear or gym gear is too difficult to get to, you're making it hard. I mean, look, we know all of this. It's just that I think the environment is the one that really gets put at the bottom of the list, and it's so powerful. I mean, it's so powerful.
I mean, a really tiny one, but a really important one for me is my house. And one example of this is, look, my kids are likely to go to their rooms. They like their rooms. They like to be on their own. They're doing all their stuff, chatting to friends, social media, whatever they're doing. So that's a really nice environment for them. Now, if I want the kids to be in the lounge with me and whatever, we watch something together, whatever it might be, I know, and this is sort of instinctive, but I know I've got to put some nice lighting in there, light a fire, maybe light a candle. There's got to be something in the environment that is going to pull them in there. If I'd left all the lights off, not lit a fire and said, should we watch a movie together? I know
that they'll go off.
They won't really think about it, but just instinctively, the environment's not pulling them in.
Do you know what else you do brilliantly? Is you populate every plug socket in that house with a phone charger.
I do.
So if you go into the living room, it doesn't matter what sofa you're on or what end of what sofa you're on, there will be a charger. And I love that about your house.
Yeah. Because that is one of the biggest influences to where someone is going to sit for any period of time.
It's such a good example. And if you think about this in terms of the workplace, if you've got a team that you want to get really bonded and energized and activated and excited, and some of them are working from home, some of them are in the office, but it's sort of they're facing the wall or they're in different desks. If you've got a galley kitchen, for example, in your office, how are you creating a space that means people cannot avoid those informal moments of conversation? Because that you can shape the environment. Another good example would be like exactly that. Could you put like a coffee counter with a super fast multi-charging port, something that's going to draw people there, and then because then they'll start talking, like it's all having an influence, and you can do some of that. You can make it really appealing. So question is, what is your version of Penelope's making the living room really appealing to her kids? How are you making a shared space really, really appealing?
It's a really good example, isn't it, of change philosophy, where we think that rational intellectual, come on, I need the team to collaborate more in 2026. Like, you can say it, you can say it, you can say it. Yes, it might go in 5%, great. If you shift the environment in terms of where you hold the meetings, how you hold the meetings, where people are sitting, where they simply have to interact and cross
comfy
paths,
chairs,
that is going to do a lot more
in
terms of people's intentionality and their behaviours.
Where do you want to eat your sandwiches? If there's two comfy sofas facing each other, they'll go there.
Do you know, I don't know if I've shared this on the podcast before, but I love one of the research examples around this, which was a university professor whose students were always late. And he told them again and again and again and again, you've got to be on time, you won't get your credits, blah, 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 blah. Nothing happened. And eventually he pulled the comfy sofa into the front of the lecture space. And
I know where you're going.
And he said, the people who get here first get the comfy sofa. And that did it. That was it. It was done. It was over.
Brilliant.
I mean, there was a fight to get there early.
So to link that with what we're talking about of energizing intention, he had created a very strong influence that wasn't just about changing behavior. They had to fire up more energy to take the action to get there early to reach that result.
Exactly. And he used the environment to do that.
Exactly.
Great. That's great.
So that's the environment. The second one is relationship. We have spoken to this briefly, of course, with the gym, because doing something with you definitely energizes me. Like, how much easier would it be to go, I'm just going to cancel that, of course, if it was just me on my own.
It'd be like, Pen's left her own in the gym. She won't be happy.
Yeah. And exactly. Well, actually, do you know what? Even I would even add to that is that I would feel like you might not go.
Aww.
And so I'm reducing your goals as well, your fitness, your intention. So I think that shared commitment, we know this in teams, that public shared commitment is huge. So who energizes you? Who helps you really send energy towards an intention? Use that relationship. Let's go into the donut. So physical, emotional, intellectual. This came up this morning. I'm going to start with the intellectual. I had a really interesting conversation with my supervisor actually this morning about the not getting stuck at the intellectual. So always rationalizing, because that can actually stop action, as we talked about.
Yeah.
But using it again as a motivator, that as soon as you understand something, you understand why you need it or what you need, or an idea that excites you or fires you up, it can really be a help to get you energized and motivated. So for some people it's learning, or it's that bit of knowledge, or it's understanding why. So to understand where your rational brain, where your intellectual. So I think it's fair to say for you, Pen, that organizing intellectual, that getting things into tables or into an Excel spreadsheet, or getting things completed, that intellectual completion is very energizing for you.
Yeah, totally. And a different one that I heard today from a client, which was very interesting, which was around, again, big changes in an organisation, and how there can be a real lack of collaboration and action when people do not understand the meaning and the broader context for why decisions have been made, or why people think certain things, and people just stop. They just don't do the thing that they need to do. So I think meaning making, particularly through uncertainty and change, is a huge driver intellectually.
And actually, one of our tools in this would be 3 things, like nice and concise, give people the 3 reasons why they should do it. And the other thing I would say on the intellectual, it's also, you don't need to read 10 books to get fired up. Sometimes we talked in the last podcast about the William Irving book on Stoicism, and I can pick that up and read 1 paragraph and have immediately have an idea and feel inspired and motivated. So it only needs to be tiny to energize you. Okay, emotional. So emotional, this can tie in with relationships. Other things, of course, might be pets, music, might be pictures, anything that gets you emotionally moved. And actually, I would say on this, what I love about this one is, if you've got a negative emotion, don't panic, Mr. Mannering, as a reference to some 1960s TV.
Dad's Army.
Dad's Army. That it's not that we're encouraging negative emotion, but actually, how could you use it? Because for lots of people who've got to, achieve amazing things in their lives, sometimes they come from, I was like, I'm going to prove it. So if you've got anger or irritation, get underneath it and say, okay, what's this asking of me? And use it, channel that. Anxiety is another one. Channel that into creativity.
Arguably, this is perhaps the most important thing in terms of sort of motivation to act and intention, because of course if you don't put energy behind those negative emotions, of course it can really go into the collapse and into the hope and into the hopelessness.
Yeah, absolutely.
So very, very often, if things feel tough and you don't feel as hopeful as you would like, energy and action is your best friend in order to shift your emotional state.
Exactly. So use that emotion to act, and that takes us to the physical, which is your quickest doorway in, really.
Move, get off the sofa.
Just move. It's not complex.
So
and actually, there's so much research done on this. If you're overwhelmed, if you're overthinking, if you're worried, if you're ruminating, if you scared of the future, uncertain, do something.
Yeah.
It has an immediate relationship with anxiety to reduce it. That overthinking, if you can do something and act, the graph immediately, the fear starts to reduce.
Yeah. And it makes sense as well, doesn't it, in terms of intentionality? Like, you can sit there and either ruminate, or you can sit there and plan and think about the things you're going to do. But of course, the brain's getting no signals that is actually going to happen, that is actually a reality.
That's right.
And therefore, your belief system is left thinking, well, I don't have this. Whereas if the body's moving, all your brain knows is, this is happening.
Yeah. And I think, so 2 things on this. One is time. If you've only got 5 minutes and you think, I'll just finish this bit of work before my next call, those are your micro moments in 2026. You are going to give yourself so much more by using that 5 minutes to move. I know it's easy to say, really create that habit, because it's not just that you're not moving in that moment. It's that every time you do that, you're signaling to your body that we stay sitting at the computer and we just keep completing tasks. And there's no space for your brain to have other ideas or creativity at all. And the other thing on that is the sitting. That we've said it before, we'll say it again. It's only increasing. That sitting is the new smoking. So move. It's sort of like the days are gone where, we were harvesting and tossing. This is me tossing hay bales into a cart back in sort of the 1800s.
That's a light
hay bale, exactly. That's more like
the
the dance of the hay bales. But actually, what really strikes me about physical movement is that we have to be very conscious of it now. It's not as bedded in anymore, whereas where it used to be bedded in much more. It's just not. So we have to put it in. So that would be one of the call outs to 2026. Micro moments, move.
Yeah, and of course it's the absolute classic when we're talking about going from passive to active in terms of our intentionality. Of course the physical is the one that pulls us out of the passive the quickest.
And actually really important to say on the physical, I think what can get in the way as a blocker to us releasing that energy is the intellectual, that I haven't got a reason to move because I haven't made a decision of what I'm going to do. And actually what we would say, this is the important override. As you step through the hope door, you've got to stop relying on the intellectual to give you a reason to move forward, because then you get into, well, is it worth me putting my gym shoes on? I mean, how many calories am I actually going to burn in one session at the gym, and how many sessions is it actually going to take to get fit? Like the ego wrapped around the intellect will work hard to make you stop. Actually, the real trick is to gamify it, is to move with no reason. I don't even know. I don't know quite where I'm going on the walk. I don't know why I'm going for a walk. But I'm doing it. And actually, to override the intellectual, to release that physical energy.
Well, I did this the other day with our second PT session. I've got a lot on at the moment, and I needed to get up super early in order to get everything done before the PT session. And I was laying in bed thinking, well, I think it's fair enough on a Saturday not to go. I mean, it's my weekend and Philippa won't mind. And I went on Wednesday and, I've got lots of things to do, and I was scheduling it all out in my head. And then Bear was on the bed and he just moved. And I just said to myself, just move.
Oh, how wonderful.
I know. And it doesn't even matter if those thoughts were coming. The body was moving.
Yeah.
And of course I made it to the PT session. And actually what was interesting about that, Phil, now that I think about it, is I didn't have to reverse engineer the intellectual thought. I didn't then have to say, well, actually I should go because of X, Y, Z. Like, I didn't even need to bother with that.
The physical had done.
The physical had taken over.
Yeah, the physical had done it.
Yeah.
There's research, isn't there, with people who are with depression, or if you ask them to quite literally just smile without a reason to smile, just move the face into a smile on a daily basis, they do much better than people who haven't been asked to do that. And it's just a physical movement, but
Yeah.
it starts signaling to the body, oh, I don't think we're as depressed as we thought. So the physical is so powerful. More signals going from body to brain than brain to body. One of my favourite pieces of research. So switch hope for intention and action in 2026. Assume you've stepped through the hope door. Pick your top 3 things for this year that you want to put intention around. And from the 4D2C model, how are you going to resource yourself and get energized to start taking those steps and enjoy them exactly along the way?
Yes.
So yeah, hold hope lightly, let it go at the door and go for it.
Yeah. Hopeful and intentional for 2026.
Love it.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the 4D Human Being podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Do take on board some of the insights, tools and tips, because every time that you try something new to get back to choice, you are making a vote for the you that you want to become. And I love that phrase, Pen.
I do too. And please do share this episode with somebody that you know would really benefit from the lessons and learnings we've been chatting about today.
And of course, if you're interested in more from 4D Human Being, do get in touch. We run workshops, trainings, online, in person, conference events and keynotes. We've got the 4D On Demand platform for your whole organisation. And we do have a free Essentials membership where anybody can sign up for absolutely free to access some of our insights, tools and tips. So do get in touch with us if you'd like to hear more. We cannot wait to hear from you and to carry on the conversation.